The story begins in 1947. A banker named Andy is accused of killing his wife and the man she was involved with. In court, all the evidence points against him. He tries to prove he's innocent, but he can't convince the jury. In the end, the judge gives him not one, but 2 life sentences for the 2 murders. After sentencing, Andy is sent to Shawshank Prison, a place where no inmate has ever escaped. Some of the men there have spent most of their lives behind those walls. The rules are strict. If someone breaks them or even talks about escaping, the guards beat them badly. We're introduced to a prisoner named Red, who has already been there for 20 years. Red is known as the guy who can get things. If an inmate needs something from the outside, Red usually finds a way to make it happen. Even so, we see that his parole request is denied again. One day, a bus arrives carrying Andy and several other new prisoners. Red and his friends make bets using cigarettes, guessing which new inmate will cry first that night. Red puts 10 cigarettes on his pick. The new prisoners are brought inside and lined up. We meet Captain Hadley, a harsh guard, and Warden Samuel Norton, who explains the prison rules. After that, the newcomers go through a rough intake process. They're sprayed down with water, then covered in a chemical powder that burns their skin. Finally, they're handed a Bible and a prison uniform and locked in their cells. That night, the older inmates start yelling after lights out, trying to scare the new guys into breaking down. The question is, who will cry first? After a while, a heavyset man starts shouting that he doesn't belong there and wants to go home to his mother. Hearing this, Captain Hadley storms in and beats him so badly that he passes out. Red loses his bet. The next morning at breakfast, Andy meets Brooks. Brooks has been in prison for many years and now sees it as his home. He works as the prison librarian and seems comfortable with his routine. Andy soon learns that the man Captain Hadley beat the night before was taken to the infirmary. Without proper medical care, the man died. At first, Andy keeps to himself and barely speaks to anyone. About a month later, he finally approaches Red. Andy asks him to get a small rock hammer and a large poster of a movie actress. Red jokes, asking if he plans to dig a tunnel with that tiny hammer. Andy simply says that once it arrives, Red will understand. Red also warns Andy about a group of inmates known as the Sisters who have been watching him in a bad way. Red manages to get the hammer for Andy. When he sees how small it is, he thinks to himself that it would take 600 years to dig a tunnel with something like that. The truth is, Andy enjoys carving rocks, which is why he wanted it in the first place. The hammer is delivered to Andy. Not long after, the Sisters corner him and assault him. This abuse continues on and off for the next 2 years. Andy never reports it. He carries bruises on his body and a quiet, distant look on his face. One day, a group of inmates is chosen to repair the prison roof. Using some clever talk, Red makes sure Andy and their friends are selected. For a few hours, they get to work outside, feel fresh air, and experience a small taste of freedom, even if it's only temporary.
The men are up on the roof fixing it when Captain Hadley starts talking to the other guards. He seems upset. He says his brother left him $30,000, but it won't help much because most of it will go to the government in taxes. Andy and the others overhear this. Andy walks over and asks Hadley if he trusts his wife. That question makes Hadley angry. He grabs Andy and drags him to the edge of the roof, ready to throw him off. Before he can do it, Andy quickly explains that there's a rule that allows a man to give his wife up to $60,000 over his lifetime without paying taxes on it. He adds that Hadley would need someone to handle the paperwork. Hadley says hiring a lawyer would cost too much. Andy calmly replies that he can take care of it for free. All he asks in return is that Hadley give each of his friends 3 beers. The next day, Andy's friends are sitting on the roof enjoying cold beers after work. It's clear that Andy followed through and helped Hadley save his money. A few days later, the prison shows a movie for the inmates. Andy steps out of the room for a moment, and that's when the Sisters attack him again. They beat him so badly that he ends up in the hospital for a month. The leader of the group is sent to solitary confinement for a week because of what happened. When that man returns to his cell, Captain Hadley pays him a visit. Remembering how Andy saved him $30,000, Hadley beats the man so severely that he's left permanently disabled. After that, the sisters never bother Andy again. Sometime later, the warden comes to inspect Andy's cell. The search is really just an excuse. One of the officers told him how Andy helped Hadley with his tax problem, and the warden wants to meet him. He takes Andy's Bible from his hands. The warden is a religious man and believes strongly in it. Andy's cell walls are covered with pictures of movie stars, including one large poster of a famous actress. The warden leaves, then comes back moments later and returns the Bible to Andy, saying, "Salvation lies within." He's impressed. Soon after, he calls Andy to his office and makes him the assistant librarian. Brooks, the older inmate who has managed the library for years, continues working there, and Andy joins him. Before long, Andy also begins helping the prison staff with their income tax returns. As the years pass, more and more work comes his way. Eventually, he needs help and chooses his closest friend, Red, as his assistant. Time moves on. One day, Brooks suddenly holds a knife to the throat of one of Andy's friends. The reason is surprising. Brooks has been approved for release, but he doesn't want to leave. He spent 50 years in prison. To him, this is home. The outside world feels unfamiliar and frightening. After Brooks is released, he struggles to adjust. In 50 years, everything has changed. The streets that once had only a few cars are now full of traffic. Life moves faster than he can handle. He can't adapt, and in the end, he takes his own life. Before he dies, he writes a letter to his friends. When the men at the prison learn that Brooks is gone, they are deeply saddened. Not long after, a group of new inmates arrives, including a young man named Tommy. He's confident, talkative, and friendly. He quickly fits in. Tommy has been in and out of different prisons for theft. When he hears how Andy has helped many people, he approaches him and says he wants to finish high school. He hopes that once he's released, he can build a better life for his wife and child. Andy agrees to help him study. One day, Tommy asks Red why someone as smart as Andy is in prison. Red tells him the story, that Andy caught his wife with another man and killed them both.
When Tommy hears this, something clicks in his mind. He quickly goes to Andy and tells him about a man he met in another prison 4 years earlier. That inmate had bragged about breaking into a house one night. The homeowner woke up, so he shot both the man and the woman in the house. Later, he found out they weren't married. They were having an affair. The woman was actually the wife of a well-known banker. That banker was later arrested and convicted for killing his wife and her lover. After hearing this story, Andy feels a sense of hope. He goes to the warden and asks for a chance to prove he's innocent, but the warden refuses to believe him. The real reason is simple. Andy handles the warden's illegal money deals and knows too much. Andy even hints that he would never expose the warden's dirty secrets. That only makes the warden angry. He throws Andy into solitary confinement for a month. Later, the warden visits Andy and tells him that Tommy tried to escape and was shot dead. But Andy knows that's a lie. Tommy wasn't the type to run, and he only had 2 years left on his sentence. When Andy says he won't continue doing the warden's financial work anymore, the warden leaves him in solitary for another month. In total, Andy spends 2 full months locked away. After he's finally released, Red comes to see him. Andy asks Red if he thinks he'll ever get out of prison. Red replies that maybe when he's old and his mind is gone, they'll release him like they did with Brooks. Andy then shares his dream. He says that once he's free, he wants to go to a quiet beach in Mexico. He plans to spend the rest of his life there and open a small hotel by the ocean. Red responds that hope can be dangerous in a place like this. Andy agrees, but says he only has 2 choices: to slowly lose himself inside prison or to keep holding on to hope. Before walking away, Andy asks Red to promise him something. Red agrees. Andy tells him about a large field near Buxton. In that field, there's a tall tree beside a stone wall. On that wall, there's a black rock. Under that rock, he says something is buried. He asks Red to promise that if he ever gets out, he'll go there and look. Red asks what's under the rock. Andy simply says he'll have to see for himself. After that conversation, Andy goes back to work handling the warden's financial records. Once he finishes, he carefully places important documents inside a special safe. When he's done, the warden gives him his suit and tells him to press it and polish his shoes until they shine. That night, Andy returns to his cell. Red feels uneasy. Earlier that day, Andy had asked another inmate for a 6-foot rope, which makes Red worry that he might hurt himself. The next morning, when the cell doors open, Andy doesn't come out. A guard walks to his cell and is shocked by what he sees. At the same time, the warden is getting dressed in his office. When he opens his shoebox, instead of his own shoes, he finds another pair inside. Suddenly, the prison siren starts ringing. It's the alarm for an escaped inmate. The warden rushes to Andy's cell, and Red is brought there too. The warden demands to know where Andy is. Red says he has no idea. Furious, the warden picks up a rock from Andy's shelf and throws it. The rock hits the large poster hanging on the wall. The rock doesn't fall to the ground after hitting the wall. Instead, it goes straight through the poster. That's when the warden starts to suspect something. He walks over, pulls the poster aside, and reaches his hand into the hole. Inside, he finds a long tunnel carved through the wall. Everyone is shocked. The prison walls are thick and solid. Digging through them without any machines seemed impossible, but Andy had done exactly that and escaped. The guards rush outside to the area where the tunnel leads. There, they find Andy's old prison clothes and a small rock hammer. It's the same hammer Andy asked Red to get for him 20 years earlier. For 2 decades, Andy had been using that tiny tool to slowly chip away at the wall. The dust and small pieces of concrete he hid in his pockets and scattered around the yard during exercise time. The last time Andy worked for the warden, he secretly kept all the records of the warden's illegal money. The warden had no idea. Andy also wore the pressed clothes the warden had given him, layering them under his prison uniform. He put on the polished shoes, too. That night, after lights out, Andy crawled through the tunnel. He then broke open a sewer pipe and crawled through it, escaping the prison, something no one had ever managed to do before. The next morning, Andy shows up at the bank where the warden's hidden money is stored. The money is under the name of a fake person who doesn't even exist. Over the years, Andy had been signing documents using that false identity, and he had all the paperwork with him. At the bank, he withdraws the entire amount, about $2.5 million. Andy is not only free now, but also financially secure. He also mails all the evidence of the warden's illegal dealings to the press. The next morning, the story appears in the newspapers. When the warden opens his safe, expecting to find his documents, he instead finds Andy's Bible. On the first page, Andy has written, "You were right. Salvation lies within." When the warden flips through the pages, he sees that the inside has been cut in the shape of a hammer. That's where Andy had hidden his tool all these years. Even the first time the warden had taken the Bible from Andy and handed it back, the hammer was inside it. Now the truth is out. The police are on their way to arrest the warden. Before they can reach him, he shoots himself. Sometime later, Red is finally granted parole. But like Brooks, he struggles to adjust to life outside. He has spent 40 years in prison, and the world feels unfamiliar. He even rents the same room where Brooks once lived. At one point, Red thinks about ending his life too. Then he remembers the promise he made to Andy, so he travels to the field near Buxton. He finds the large tree and the stone wall. Under the black rock, he discovers a small box. Inside, there's money and a letter from Andy. The letter says that if he has come this far, he should go a little farther. Andy reminds him of the name of the town he once mentioned and says he'll be waiting there. He writes that they can start a new life together. He also adds that hope is a good thing, maybe the best of things, and good things never die. Red decides to take the chance. He travels to the place Andy described. When he arrives, he sees Andy working on a boat near the water. Andy looks up, sees red and smiles. The two friends walk toward each other and share a hug. And with that moment, the story comes to an end. Hope you enjoyed this recap. If you liked it, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel.